Amsterdam, this is an update from the story that Rico covered last week. Amsterdam left out of Netherlands' legal weed experiment, you guys. Amsterdam will not be part of an experiment with regulated cannabis now underway in the Netherlands after a vote in the country's parliament last week. Amsterdam, a city long associated with relaxed weed rules, has been left out of a pilot experiment with legal cannabis sales now underway in the Netherlands. In a vote last week in the Netherlands' lower house of parliament known as the Tweede Kamer, lawmakers excluded Amsterdam from a list of cities to be added to the European country's experiment with regulated cannabis cultivation and distribution. The Tweede Kamer also voted against an attempt by conservative lawmakers to halt the experiment, which would be expanded this summer to 10 cities across the Netherlands. The experiment launched late last year in the Dutch cities of Breda and Tilburg. Under the pilot program, which will soon be launched in 8 more cities, the government is regulating the cultivation and sale of adult-use cannabis. Although the Netherlands in general and Amsterdam in particular are known for a pragmatically tolerant outlook on weed, cannabis is still illegal nationwide. Despite the prohibition, cannabis is easily available at so-called coffee shops, which offer a range of weed products, including flowers, joints, and hash to adult consumers. The coffee shops, which number in approximately 565 statewide, are supplied by underground growers who are generally allowed to operate without government interference. Many government officials are concerned, however, that organized crime groups have taken over cultivation of much of the weed that ends up in the coffee shops in the Netherlands, and this concern led to the country's first experiment with regulated adult-use cannabis cultivation and distribution. The experiment began in December and is being rolled out in select municipalities under what the government calls a closed coffee shop chain experiment. The initial phase of the experiment is expected to extend for 6 months in as many as 11 cities, and in quotes, during the startup phase, growers, coffee shop owners, transporters, and supervisors will gain experience with the supply and sale of regulated cannabis and its supervision, secure transport, and the use of the track and trace system, the Ministry of Health, Welfare, and Sport said in a statement, according to a report from the Associated Press. And this article goes on a little bit, but in the sake of time, we're going to keep this train rolling. What do you guys think about this? Netherlands.
Amsterdam trap is going to be popping.
Yeah, it is.
This is going to be the most fully developed trap market on earth.
Man.
Well, I have a few opinions about this.
Go for it.
The attorney that the article quoted talked about how it had more to do with the conservative party that was in control, and that those people wouldn't want to see this program expanded to the city of Amsterdam. I have a slightly different take on it, which is that city already has a functional, dysfunctional, slightly functional, quasi-functional system in place, and that they are testing out a different system in other cities. But why mess with what has been theoretically working for decades in that city? And I thought it was very funny that the politicians were worried about criminal organizations in the cannabis supply chain. I would love the day when politicians are worried about the criminal influence on political organizations. Like, clean your house, bro. Give me a break, okay? You worried about something? Go clean your own house. Well, because you know there's nothing to see there, right? But I do think that this Amsterdam, because there's an existing system there, it might be nice to see if this newer iteration of a model works in other towns before imposing it on a city that already has had a sort of don't ask, don't tell policy going on for.
That's an interesting
years.
Thought process on that, Jarl. Very interesting. Try it out in these smaller municipalities that are, you know what I mean? And then that way you can perfect it, get it to work, and then just boom, just slap it in the big city and just pow, there it is. Interesting.
We're nonviolent. We're only for nonviolent offenses, so there's no slapping it in, Jason.
Gotcha.
That's what we call the good old reach around.
That's,
you know what I'm saying?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Just pow.
I mean, how many of these cities really even experience that robust of a market? I mean, because the overall the Dutch citizens in general aren't like big heady heads. You know what I mean? They're not like it's mostly a lot of tourism that travels to the Netherlands for cannabis, mainly Amsterdam. But
well, so let's stress test that presumption. I mean, I don't know that they're not very heady heads or that they don't have a high per capita rate of cannabis
they
usage.
don't. They've came out and said that that's an overall in their society, it's not like a big thing.
Well, I think we need to distinguish between it not being a big thing because they've had this robust cafe culture for as long as I can remember, so it doesn't stand out, versus what are the percentage of the population that uses cannabis more than once a month, versus how much cannabis does the average citizen consume. I don't know those answers. I would venture they don't know those answers. I would venture that you don't know those answers either.
That knows the answers to everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They did do a study on this, and like it was a very low percentage. It was like 20% of the population or something like that. It was super low that actually consumes cannabis.
I mean, honestly, 1 in 5 is not a small number in my mind.
20%. I don't know. I disagree. I don't think that's.
I mean, if you take in and you scrape out the super old who are just trying to breathe without smoke, and the super young that are age restricted, if you're talking about that percentage of the population.
This would have been of eligible people that would be eligible to consume this. That was. I see what you did there. That's a good numbers game right there. That's a good little spin. Yeah, I see that. Mm-hmm.